Hello and welcome back to X-Plane 11 for the third and final part of the review of the JustFlight Aero PA-28R. Today we're going to be continuing on our flight, and we're going to be doing a little bit of flying around, doing a bit of stall practice potentially before taking the aircraft into a descent and landing it at East Midlands Airport. That's Echo Golf November X-Ray. If you haven't been understanding some of the flight in terms of, over the past couple of episodes, in terms of the instruments and in terms of the setup and the systems, please do go check out my series, The Ground Up Advanced Flight Tutorials, where you can learn all about that. But if you have been understanding and you just want a review of this aircraft, then you are in the right place, because that's what we're going to be continuing on with today. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, please do go watch parts 1 and 2 before watching part 3, because I have talked about things in those two parts that I won't be covering in this part. Right. With all that now said, let's go back into nav mode and let's see if this aircraft happily gets back on its course. So we're now flying away from the Trent VOR, but we are going to be, in fact, you know what, forget nav, let's go into, we're going to stay in heading hold, and we are going to turn on to a heading of, no, we're going to do our stalls on this heading. Let's do our stalls on this heading. Right, so we're in this heading hold mode right now. Now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you other parts of the autopilot. And by the way, you can bring up the autopilot from here if you want to. And I think it's that one, that button there. There you go. That brings up the autopilot for you if you can't see it down there. So I'll actually show you this right here very, very quickly. So we've got the roll mode, and you can see that allows the aircraft to roll. Now if we switch off heading hold, we do this, we can have the aircraft rolling as and when and how we want it. So that's like an auto control for the aircraft to roll, which is actually pretty awesome. You go back into heading hold mode and it will bring the aircraft back up. So that's one other mode that can give you up to 30 degrees of bank, I believe. So you can just put it up to 10, 15, 20. And I am actually not going to use that, because obviously I want to feel this aircraft. I want to understand the dynamics of this aircraft. So what I am going to do is I'm actually going to switch off heading hold, and I'm going to do a couple of clearing turns before we practice our stalls. Now the clearing turns I'm going to actually do are going to be to the right. So we're going to do a clearing turn to the right and then a clearing turn to the left, so that we're back on this heading before doing our stalls and then turning to a heading of a 180. So let's go ahead and do that. Head tracking can go on. There we go, there's the head tracking, so I can actually look out and about, which is going to be important, because that's what clearing turns are for. If you don't understand clearing turns, please do go, like I said, watch my series, The Ground Up Advanced Flight Tutorials. I don't know why it's doing this. I might have to switch off the head tracking, but we are going to switch off heading hold now. And we're going to turn the aircraft ourselves. Right, I am going to switch off head tracking. And we're going to turn the aircraft ourselves. Very smoothly. There we go. And we're going to turn to a heading of due north. The yaw is very odd right now, I will say that, and that I think is due to my X-plane controls, nothing else. As I'm getting used to it, after taking off, I found it a little bit confusing. But now that I've got used to that yaw, it's actually I can manage it, even though I don't particularly like how it's set up in X-plane right now on my control setup. Whoa. The aircraft does straighten very, very quickly when you have the autopilot on, and it actually wants to go back. Did I not switch off heading mode? Why does it want to turn back? It did want to turn back. It seemed to want to keep my heading. That's interesting. Well, that's no good. Right, we'll switch our heading hold back on. Let's take a look around. As I said, I keep doing that. It looks clear. Obviously there's going to be no aircraft in sight, but it's good procedure to take a look around. And now, I guess with heading hold off, let's use that roll command. So now we're going to use that roll command. We'll actually swing this heading back to 270. There we go. So we've got a 10-degree bank angle going on. Let's have a look at this aircraft from the outside while it's banking. Again, you can get a good look at this aircraft, seeing what it's like. Let's head back inside because I bet you we're almost up on... Yep, we're almost where we need to be. Switch off that head tracking there so I can actually get this to roll out. And there we go. I think that's rolled out. That seems fairly rolled out to me. Okay, so we've done our banks, we've done our clearing turns. We can take a look around. Like I said, if I were to do that, there you go. Taking a look around, we've looked everywhere. It all seems clear. We're going to do our stall practice now. So let's see what this aircraft is like to stall. So I'll bring this up so that you guys can see my control inputs, and I'll move my viewpoint a little bit further back so you guys can see what I'm doing, and then we'll see exactly what we can get. So the first thing I need to do is switch off the autopilot. There we go. Autopilot's now off, so you hear that audible tone. I will now bring the propellers full up, mixtures full rich, and we're going to start with a power off stall. So I'm going to bring that throttle back. There's the noise, there's that stall, or there's the warning for the incipient. There's the stall. Bring that nose down, smoothly apply power, regain control. Don't lose more than 200 feet. Wonderful. There we go, that was a pretty good stall. Let's try that again. Let's climb back up to... So we're going to now smoothly go back to full power. And let's climb up to... I'm not going to change my trim. I'm just going to do this manually. We're going to climb up to 3,000 again, and then stall the aircraft once again. This time I'm going to try and be a little bit more violent with the aircraft. So you can hear the stall warning comes on. Very audible. And we're just going to climb slightly above 3,000, and then we're going to go pull up ready for the stall. There's above 3,000. Bring the power back smoothly. Pull the aircraft nose up very rapidly. There's the stall. Keep those wings level. And there we go. Now we can bank the aircraft back to where we need it to be. That's pretty good. Let's try a power on stall. Alright, full power. Now this one could lead to a spin. And if this leads to a spin, it's going to be very interesting. A much higher angle of attack, as you can see. There's the stall. There's the stall. No spin because I managed to keep the wings level. If I didn't keep the wings that level, that would have ended up in a spin because I could feel the wings trying to tip over to the left-hand side. But that's pretty good on the stall characteristics. The one thing I have to mention on this that does seem to confuse me, as I know that I'm a lot higher up than I should be now. So I'm actually going to let the nose come down as we lower the aircraft. And I'm actually going to turn the aircraft now to a heading of 180. But I'm going to ensure that the heading bug is also pointed to 180 so that when the autopilot kicks in, we are okay. Right, so the one thing I did notice through those stalls is that it didn't seem to keep doing that, don't I? That's what I meant to do. Let me just get this aircraft turning. Yeah, it doesn't like that. It didn't seem to, for some reason, shudder the aircraft. So the aircraft didn't shudder, the aircraft didn't shake. And that's kind of interesting. Roll out nicely, there we go. No, I don't want to climb, watch that ballooning. Don't want to climb this aircraft. I want this aircraft to be descending and speeding up. Because we were trimmed to be happy at 3,000 feet roughly. Although we had the autopilot on, it was 3,000 feet and roughly 115 knots, I believe, is what we were trimmed for. So that's the trim, that's the condition this aircraft wants to return to. And that's the condition we're going to bring this aircraft back to. Again, I'm going to bring the mixture down. So now we can get rid of this. I'm going to bring that mixture down and going to bring the propellers back once again. Actually, the mixture can stay fairly rich for now. That's pretty good. Alright, now I am trimming the aircraft for a descent as we've sped up. The directional gyro is not aligned with magnetic north. You are correct. That has moved. That's interesting. It's actually moved to about there. That's very interesting. I didn't think that had moved. I wonder why it moved. Maybe all the movement that we were doing didn't have the gyro in a correct position. Right, we're coming back to 3,000 feet, and as you can see, the aircraft is actually stabilizing itself. Apart from me having to control the pull to the left, the aircraft is actually stabilizing itself. Now, the ADF is actually not functioning right now because we are out of range of the locator NDB. But since we have this, this GPS, we can actually use it. There's EGNX. That's what we're looking for. Right, there we go. And we can now lean that mixture. Fantastic. Okay, we'll switch on the autopilot once again. Heading hold can go on. Altitude hold can go on. The cheaty altitude hold, of course. And we can now prepare for a descent into EGNX. So that's East Midlands Airport. So all we're going to do here is we are going to turn over to intercept. So we're actually going to try and intercept that localizer. So the way I am going to do it is I'm actually going to go past the airport and then I'm going to turn in. Now the only reason I'm doing this instead of doing the standard straight in approach is I want to show you how this localizer intercepts. So I'm going to fly past the airport and then I'm going to intercept the localizer. In fact, I tell you what, no, better plan. If I turn to a heading of 090 right now, if I do that right now, I thought we had this on. Obviously the altitude hold had switched off. It was actually originally on. I might be able to show you this. I might be able to show you this anyway. Okay, we don't really need this. Yeah, I think I am going to be able to, because we're not going to be, as you can see, we're not lined up. We're closer to Trent than we are to Echo Golf November X-Ray. So we're closer to Trent than we are to East Midlands. Let's continue along. Let's actually speed this aircraft up a bit. We'll speed the aircraft up and we will lean that mixture a little bit further. There we go. That's speeding the aircraft up nicely. That's pretty good. Okay, great. Let's have a look at our checklist for landing then. So approach and landing, fuel selector will go fullest tank. While I'm using the automatic fuel selector, that's fine. Fuel pump will go on, so we'll remember that. Mixture will be set, we'll have full forward. Propeller full forward. Gear will go down at 129 kilo what am I talking about? 129 knots indicated airspeed. Flaps will be set for at 103 knots, and then we'll trim for 75 knots. Now I might go for a little bit faster, and then that's all we're there for. Okay, good. That's everything ready for us. Right, you can see now. There we go. The ADF has come alive, so you can see the ADF right there. You can see that the glide slope is now alive, but the localizer is not. So we've got the glide, but not the localizer. Now, this aircraft, because it doesn't have an actual built-in altitude control, it will not be able to follow the glide. It will line us up on the center line of the runway, but it will not follow the glide. Let's have a look outside again. That looks spectacularly good. I have to admit, it really, really does look good. Not just X-Plane, but this aircraft as a whole. It just has a very, very realistic look to it. And JustFlight can be proud of what they've built, that's for sure. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, currently at 120 knots, we're going to continue flying. Once we get past Trent, I am going to turn onto a heading of 150. I'll turn onto a heading of 150. 150 will take us into line up with the runway. Now, the way we do this is we will turn onto that heading. We will then switch into Localizer Normal. We will then select the heading bug to be the course of the runway. Now the runway is 090, or well, I think it's 091. So we're going to tune in 091. So, and you can see where the ADF is pointing. So that's telling us the direction to the locator for the runway anyway. So we know where it is. So we just have to make sure that this works for us. So we're going to look for an ILS approach, and again, I've got to once again remind you guys that it's not going to work on the glide slope. It's just not going to work on that glide slope. So don't try it on the glide slope. It just doesn't help. Right. Let's see what we've got. So what we're going to do is, when we're in position for a Localizer Intercept, which we're not at the moment, we are going to select that heading of the Localizer with the heading bug, and then we'll switch it into Localizer Normal. Right. Now, one of the things I've read in the manual, it says it's important to note that the coupler only controls the heading of the aircraft and cannot adjust the rate of descent for the glide slope. So this is exactly what I was talking about. Right. So this is what we are going to do. We're going to fly up to Trent, which we're about to get to now. In fact, you know what? For this, I'm actually going to speed this up. Let's do this a little bit quicker, because it's going to be a slightly longer. Video. So I guess I don't really need that on. Now it's pretty clear to see everything in here. Right, so we can speed up. There goes the localizer. Okay, so we can actually do this from now. So we'll do this from now. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn to a heading. So in heading mode, we're going to turn to a heading of 150. So there we go. We're now turning to a heading of 150. Now, if I have done this correctly, and by no means am I saying that I've done this correctly, I should be able to switch this into Localizer mode and set this up for 090 for it to intercept the localizer fairly shortly. do that. Now the only thing I do have a concern about is no waypoints for me. I don't have any reference to the airport. I can't see the airport unless that's it there, but I don't think so. These are wind farms or something. There is the lake there that I can see. Now that's a reference I've always used, but there should be a power station right here. Actually, it could be that lake. But there should be a single cooling tower that I also use as reference. And that's the issue that X-Plane has. That would make it harder for me to be able to fly this aircraft. Okay, so you can see that the localizer is what we're going to be using. We can switch this over to DME for nav1 or DME1. That tells us how far away we are from the airport. So you can see 17.5 nautical miles away from the airport. 105 knots towards the airport is what we're doing, it seems. Our ground speed is 131 knots. Our indicated airspeed is 125 knots. Okay, at this point we need to ensure that everything is good, so we're going to switch the fuel pump on. We're going to probably switch the fan off. We don't have to take out the landing gear just yet. This aircraft does come with a landing gear that actually deploys itself if the aircraft is in a low power situation and below 85 knots. And also there is an emergency landing gear section right. There's an emergency landing gear right there. Oh, I've just adjusted the trim. Right here. So you can actually, if the landing gear does not deploy, you can actually deploy the landing gear right there. So there you go. There's something else, a little extra bit of information. Where is the airport? I still cannot see it. I'm just watching. In fact, if I look at that locator beacon, it's saying it's off my 11 o'clock. So it's probably where this pillar is. It's somewhere there. Obviously, it's not easy to see. Okay. Now we're going to obviously switch off the autopilot very soon with regards to the altitude control, and we'll bring this aircraft into a nice stable descent. I'm just waiting for this needle to start moving. That's what I'm waiting for. As soon as it starts moving, I'm going to go into Localizer mode. And we'll select 090 on the heading. So if you're wondering why I'm not slowing down yet, this aircraft does slow down very, very easily. So I am going to slow this aircraft down for an approach speed of, I'm looking for an approach speed of roughly, I don't know, 100 knots, maybe 90 knots. 190 to 100 knots. Still looking for the airport. Still cannot see it. We are a fair distance away. We can say that we are a fair distance away. Alright, I'm now going to turn to a heading of 120 to make the 30-degree intercept on the localizer. So we're looking for a 30-degree intercept on the localizer. The ADF is still telling us where the airport is. That's now moving. Switching to localizer normal. 090. Let's get that localizer lined up. And there you have it. It's intercepting the localizer for us. Fantastic. Okay. Now, as a backup, we can, if we wanted to, switch this over to 109.352. not 352, 352. Set this up for the same thing, which is 090, and you can see exactly where we are. So that's lined us up there. We are now going to start slowing the aircraft down. Very slowly, very gently. I can actually... It's not actually wanting to line up with the localizer properly. So I'm actually going to go back into heading mode. I want to line up with the localizer a little better myself. I'm going to slow that aircraft down now. The ILS is coming up. Alright, that can now slow down. Now I think we can bring our landing gear down. There's the airport. Landing gear can now come down. That can go off. We're going to trim the nose down of this. Come on, trim that nose down. Obviously it doesn't want to trim down because the autopilot doesn't want to trim that nose down for some bizarre reason. I think it was something to do with that autopilot system. Doesn't allow the nose to trim down as easily as you'd want. But there you go, now the nose is trimming down. Fantastic. We're down to, what's that, 100 knots roughly. Keep trimming that nose down, reduce the power further, because we are very high. We are lined up on that localizer. We're going to switch this to 090. That's how we line up on the localizer. I made a slight mistake there. Let's keep this aircraft coming down. We are within flap range right now, but what I want to do is I want to ensure that this aircraft is back on target before I bring in any flaps. And right now it's clearly not on target. Propellers can go full forward and the mixture can go full forward right now. We are descending quite rapidly just to bring the ILS back to us, and this is coming back to us, the glide slope. It's not a problem though with an aircraft like this. Very easy to fly. Just ease it in. We're now down to 90 knots, which is where I wanted us to be. And we can fly this last section. If we really wanted to, we could probably fly this last section ourselves. So in fact, I am going to fly it myself. So let's see how this works. Autopilot can go off. I have control. I'm going to fly this aircraft in myself. Let's see what this aircraft is like to land. One stage of flaps. That will naturally slow the aircraft down, which will help our descent rate. Just put in a little bit more throttle. We're slightly to the left of the localizer, so that's why I'm flying ever so slightly to the right. And are we going to go for full flaps? We could. I don't think I've done a full flaps landing in this aircraft. Not even in Flight Sim World. But they want a 75 knot descent. I prefer faster descents. That's just my personal preference. Nothing more than that. It's just a personal preference. After being used to flying jets only for years, Even in Flight Sim World, I started doing much faster. I was always approaching much faster. But you can see that on the crosshairs for the ILS, I am fairly lined up. This aircraft is very easy to bring down. Let's bring that speed down a bit more. Let's bring out the second stage of flaps. This will be interesting. Let's see what this is like to fly with that second stage of flaps. .75 knots. There's that approach speed that they want. Slightly below the glide according to the ILS, but according to the puppy indicators we are absolutely fine. We're on target. It's a very hands-on plane. As you can see, I'm making adjustments. You can see the adjustments I'm making right in front of you. Still maintaining 75 knots. Not having to adjust the throttles at all at this point in time. We are going to slow down a little bit, naturally. Take another screenshot there as we approach. That might be the thumbnail. And you can see now we are below the glide, but we are coming up to the threshold, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, we will be landing the aircraft. The brakes are going to be a little bit hard when we land. Okay, we have a few stutters as we bring the aircraft into land. Flare. And we are down very gently. Bring that back. Fantastic. Let's use a little bit of those brakes. There we go. As I said, the brakes are going to be a little bit stronger than I would want because I don't have the correct setup at the moment. But there we have it. A wonderful, simple landing at East Midlands Airport, Echo Golf, November X-Ray. Let's get past this ILS critical zone, and then we'll just stop the aircraft. In fact, we'll just pop. Let's go straight ahead. Let's go straight ahead. Let's bring our mixture back. We'll do that, and then we'll go through the shutdown procedure. We'll bring this back to that. Why? I don't know why that switched on. It's a little bit annoying. But then we'll go through the shutdown procedure. In fact, we can start doing some of the shutdown right now. There we go. We'll just pop the aircraft over here. Seems like a good place to park an aircraft. And I will park it right here. Fantastic. Parking brake can come on. Awesome. Let's go back to the checklist to ensure that everything is fine. We managed to get through all of that. Not a problem. We're going through shutdown, flaps fully retracted, fuel pump off, avionics off. Right, so we're going to switch all the avionics off, so that can go off. Nope, come on. That can go off, that's it. That can go off. That's off. That's off. I think that's all the avionics switched off. As far as I know, that's all the avionics switched off. Good. Electrical switches can go off. So we're actually going to switch off all of this. So electrical switches are off. The one thing I did want to show you is this. In fact, let me quickly show you that. Let's say we've got these rotating beacons on. And let's say... Let's see. No, let's go for this one here. Anti-collision light. You've got the anti-collision light on, which are the strobe lights. If we pop this circuit breaker like that, you'll notice that outside they still work. Ha! Maybe that's not how it works. Hold on. I've probably got the wrong one. Which one could it be? Could it be nav lights? I was told this works. Ah yeah, look, the nav lights have gone off. You can see that the nav lights have gone off because the aircraft, the circuit breaker has been tripped. So this failure system works with the circuit breaker. So if something fails, it will trip the associated circuit breaker. Now if we go outside, you can see the nav lights are back on. So that's really, really good. Another feature that I really like. Right, propellers full forward, they are. Throttle can now go closed. And this can go to idle cutoff. That shuts that down. Fantastic. That can now go to off. Well, we can switch the fan off. There we go. Alternator can go off. Battery can go off. And job done. This aircraft is now shut down. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this 3-part review for this aircraft. It's a wonderful aircraft. It really, really is. Fantastic product from the guys over at JustFlight. Available on JustFlight.com for £27.99. This is the Piper PA-28R Arrow 3. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on X-Plane 11. Leave a comment in the comments box below. Let me know what you think, and if you have picked up this Piper Arrow, let me know your thoughts on it. My final thoughts, 9 out of 10. Top quality aircraft. Just a few little things here and there in terms of textures and stuff that needs to be fixed. 9 out of 10. Physics feel great. Sounds are amazing. Modeling is really good. Texturing needs that little bit of work, but everything else about it really, really amazing. Well worth a pickup if you want to purchase a general aviation aircraft. That being said, you could have a look at the Turbo Arrow 4 instead of this one, which would be very similar, but would be obviously with a turbocharged engine, meaning that you can go slightly faster and you'll have higher altitudes, so your service ceiling will be higher. So you could have a look at that one. Maybe I might have a look at that one, but I really, really like this aircraft. Again, like I said, like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ECGadget for live streaming, and do consider supporting me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/ECGadget. I would really, really appreciate your support. It would help me out a huge amount, allow me to continue creating videos like this and making my content better, more accessible for you, more interesting, and longer overall. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time in X-Plane 11.